I'm Tim Allen, Chair of the Finance Committee. We got a finance meeting at 5:30. That's what I'm assuming everybody's on for. Just first person, Felix Cruz Tirado. Could you just identify yourself, please?
Yep, I'm a budget analyst with admin and finance.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Welcome. Paul Tudhill, we know you. How about Ciara Hanlon?
I'm a senior budget analyst with the Department of Administration and Finance.
All right, great. Thank you. Welcome. Are you guys here? Lindsay's here. Okay. All right. So there's about 9 of us, and I received information that the other 2 members of the Finance Committee are Zeta Govan and Tracy Whitfield. I did receive information that they wouldn't be here in person. I don't know if they're going to get on and participate remotely. But we have an agenda to get started on anyway. So thanks for coming. First item is Pat Burns leading off with the March revenue and expenditure report.
Thank you, Counselor. Tonight I'll be presenting to the Council the March revenue versus expenditure report. We are at the 3/4 mark of the fiscal year, or 75%. You'll see our revenue is right at 75% of budget, and our expenditures are slightly under at 74%. We continue to monitor the utility budgets, but we don't see a need for an additional appropriation at this point. And also, we're finalizing the snow and ice budget, and we are anticipating an order for your next regular meeting that will be within the Department of Public Works. And the actual snow and ice budget came under by approximately $64,000 as of May 1st. They might have some more expenditures, but the budget was well managed, and we won't need an additional appropriation this fiscal year.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. I also see Council President Jesse Letterman is on, and Kathy Breck from the Law Department. Welcome to the 2 of you. I think I announced everybody that I've seen on there. So thanks, Pat, for that. Is there any, are there any questions for Pat or further information that you need on the revenue versus expenditure report? I'm not really good at seeing the hands go up, so just speak if you're like, I'm working off my phone, just kind of tiny. I don't see anybody in the queue. I don't hear from anybody, so we'll just take your report, Pat, and move on to the next thing. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
The next one says Mass Heal. I don't know if that's supposed to be Mass Health grant increase. No match required, 117,000, and et cetera. Somebody here to talk about that?
Sure. I don't see Helen. I can speak to this. It is actually the Mass Heal program. It's an increase of 117,000, bringing the total grant award up to $767,000. And the program, the grant funding is for a program to reduce opioid overdose in the community.
Okay, so it's an increase to money we had already received.
It is.
Okay, great. So we must be underway with what to do with it. So that's great. Any questions on that from anyone? All right, not seeing anybody. Next one, we got a big one. I assume this is Bill Mahoney talking about the collective bargaining agreement for the firefighters. The floor is yours, Bill.
Good evening, councilors. Thank you. So we have good news to report. We've settled the Springfield firefighters local 648 of the IFF, 2 contracts with them. The last contract expired on June 30th, 2020. The first is a 1-year contract, and then followed by a 3-year contract that'll bring us out to June 30th, 2024. Negotiations began on January 22nd, 2021. We had about 14 bargaining sessions. A lot of them were Zoom bargaining sessions. Those were followed by 3 mediation sessions. And then we actually were, we were going to a 3A hearing with them, and we settled right before the 3A hearing. The wages are in the year one, it's 2.5% plus 1% for a hazardous duty pay, then 2.5%, 2.5%, 2.5%. We've added Juneteenth as a holiday. We've added a $300 tool allowance for people that are fire apparatus repair people. There's only a handful of them. That's an annual tool allowance. Employees who are under the 10-year residency rule must complete the annual residency certificates. That's new language for us. And then we have some documentation dates for employees to submit if they want to get the education benefit or the EMT certification pay. The contract has already been ratified by the bargaining unit. And there's about, if I didn't say at the beginning, there's about 251 members in that union.
Okay, is that like, are they at full staff, should I say? Maybe that's the way to, is that the size of the union
Yeah,
at
Yep.
full staff? Okay,
you know, in addition to that, there's another union in that department, the fire chiefs, and there's about 10 to 12 members in that bargaining unit.
but that's not been settled. That's not part of this. is
That's
it?
not, no, that's still ongoing.
That's ongoing. Okay. Well, it's good news to have that settled. And I'm sure it's good news for you, Bill. I'm struck with the January 21st to say March of 23. That's 26 months. And you had, 15 meetings or something like that. So is it really comes out to like one every 2 months or something? Does that sound right?
Yeah, well, there were a handful that the union canceled. When I was going through my notes, I usually take a note as to if the meeting didn't go forward, why it didn't go forward. I think there were 3 in there that they had canceled the negotiations. But, it was COVID. So, I mean, things were, nothing was working the way it used to. So, we're kind of, fits and starts on getting the negotiations done because, people are sick, people can't come. I mean, there's just a bunch of different things that occur, particularly during the COVID period.
Yep. Okay. Well, it sounds good to me. I'm glad we're at this point. I like approving contracts that are good for everybody. And throw it out to everybody in this meeting. Does anybody have a question for Bill relative to this contract?
A quick question, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, go right ahead, Jesse.
Bill, the retro that will be due to the members, at what percentage will that be?
Well, it's going to be for year one, about 3.5%. For year two would be the 3.5 plus the 2.5. For year three, it would be 3.5 plus 2.5 plus 2.5.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. All right, anybody else? Not seeing anybody else. Sounds good. I don't have any further questions at this point, so we'll consider item 3 done, and then we get to a related item. It looks like item 4. So it looks like a Lindsay probably. Is that you, Lindsay?
Yes, that is a Lindsay.
You have all that free cash, Lindsay? You just hanging around?
I do, and it's just burning a hole in our pocket, I guess. So this is a transfer from free cash for just over $2.9 million, and that is to cover the cost of the retro, which you were just discussing. The department does have a small amount of salary savings, so we took that into consideration to try to reduce the amount that we were moving out of free cash. And that covers just all of those increases that Bill just talked about for the firefighters' salaries.
Okay, so is this something we just know it's coming, right? You just know it's coming at some point.
Oh,
And
it's going to be paid. Yep. So it'll be paid in this fiscal year. So that's why we want to move the funding over.
okay. And we had a similar thing a couple months ago for the police.
Yep. With
Yep.
IBPO. Yep.
That was for 5.9, if I'm not mistaken. This is 2.9. So,
That's correct.
Okay, any questions from anyone about the retroactive pay? All right, not seeing any questions. That moves us on to DPW. I think EF stands for Enterprise Fund, Salaries and Wages to DPW EF accounts. Chris, I assume this is you?
This is me. Good evening, counselors. We are requesting a moving of $201,000 from our salary line item within the enterprise fund to two separate line items. Number one is into gas and diesel of $135,000. Price of diesel is still escalating, and 66,000 of it is into repairs for, our existing enterprise fleet that we need to do in the department. So it's 201,000 from salaries and into two line items, gas and diesel and vehicle supplies.
Okay. Is the Lindsay, is the CAFO all good with that? Approved all that and stuff?
Yes.
Now, he's never really happy with me, but
Well, you just have to live in a world where not everybody's happy with you.
believe me, I'm well aware, counselor, well aware.
There's a lot of streets out there. Okay, so that looks good from the CAFO standpoint. We have our deputy CAFO on the meeting with us, so, all right. Lindsay, you all set with that? You're
Yep.
all set with Chris's item, yeah, okay.
Yes.
Counselor, excuse me, just one item before you move forward. I have an item on the agenda for the council. It is not on this agenda. We are receiving a grant from Massachusetts DOT. It's actually, we're receiving equipment. We're receiving some speed signs that are going to be placed at Duggan School. It is on the agenda for the council. It just didn't make it onto the agenda here, so I just wanted to let everybody know. It's not technically a finance issue, but it falls under the finance guidelines because we're accepting the materials.
I saw that on the regular agenda. I didn't realize it wasn't on here. And
Yeah,
one
I can go into detail at the council meeting if you wish.
Yeah, and that's fine. I was thinking of it with my Ward 7 lens on as to whether those were the Surrey Road signs,
No,
or
these are the ones, they're going in at Duggan, on Wilbraham Road at Duggan.
But is that similar to what we asked on Surrey Road? Similar.
Actually, these are the ones that have the illumination that tell you what speed you're going, slowing down. It gathers data. We've put a number of these around the city. So the area around Duggan, it was through the state DOT and through the school side. So it was part of an application for a particular school.
Okay. All right, I saw that. Thank you. Next, budget transfer within a department, 65,000. Lindsay, that looks like yours.
Yep, this is also for the fire department. This is to move some of that salary surplus that I was just talking about over to their gasoline line.
Oh, yeah. Is that different from the DPW gas accounts? Chris just mentioned that.
Yeah, departmentally, departments have their own lines for gasoline. So we do have a couple that were in a deficit this year because the cost of gas. We have a couple departments who need transfers into those lines.
Okay. Great, we're all set with that then. Any questions? Not seeing any. All right. Couple items to go. Reserve number 7, reserve for contingencies to comptroller department, state assessments, 50,000. So I assume we're taking 50,000 out of the reserve for contingencies, and somebody can tell me, all of us, what that's for.
Sure.
I think I can handle this one if you,
Okay.
Lindsay, if you want me to.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
We have a contract with the University of Mass Medical School, and they provide us third-party billing for Medicaid services provided to the school department. As part of this contract, they're entitled to 2.5% of the revenue that's collected. And as of today, we've received 3.8 million and we're expecting to receive another large payment before the end of the fiscal year. It's usually close to 2 million. So with the increase in revenue over what was estimated, we're gonna owe UMass a little more money. So this transfer is to put the money into the line item within the comptroller's state assessments budget so that we won't have a shortfall, and I'll be coming to you in August or September looking for a bill of a prior year payment. So we're trying to be proactive and address that now.
All right, great. Sounds good to me. Any questions, any counselors or anybody? Mike Fenton is on. Thank you for joining, Mike. All right, that gets us to item 8, bills of prior year for the police. Is that you, Lindsay?
Sure, I'll take that one. So this is for a bill of prior year for the police department. This was it's just one vendor, Sarah Ford. It's just for services rendered at the end of the fiscal year. Unfortunately, a PO was closed from last year that would have paid for these invoices. So we just need to use their FY23 appropriation to just cover the just over $3,000.
So when you say bills of prior year, not trying to be picky, just informational, does that mean a year ago?
It could mean any number of years outside this fiscal year. This is specific to FY22.
Okay. All right. Great, thank you. I don't see anything else on my agenda here. Has anybody got anything else on your agenda besides what we've discussed? What I got sent, this is all I got. Anybody got anything else? Any questions on something that came up after we stopped talking about it? All right, well, seeing none of that, I guess we could take a vote, Jesse, if you wanted to do your like member of a committee thing. We don't have Zeta and Tracy aren't here, so I don't have a quorum unless you want to vote on it.
I'll make a motion that we forward all orders to the full body with positive recommendation.
I will second that and appreciate your motion, Jesse, and appreciate everybody else coming to the meeting and helping out. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see some of you in an hour.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you in a little bit.
See ya. Yeah, thanks.